Hi, everyone. This is Jessica from the Google Students page on Google+. Hopefully you are tuning in to hear about Summer of Code. I'm joined today by Chris Devona and Kat Ellman, who work on our open source programs team, and they manage the Google Summer of Code program. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into what the program's all about and answer some of the questions that you all submitted.
Kat?
Hi, I'm Kat Allman. I work with Chris at Google's Open Source Programs Office, and I'm delighted to work alongside Carol Smith on Google Summer of Code.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris. I look after open source. As much as anyone does look after it at Google, I do it. And part of that is our outreach team, which is what Kat leads, and where Carol works on the Summer of Code. And this is one of the marquee programs of our group, so it's something we're really excited about.
Great. We're excited to have you guys here today, and I think a lot of students want to know a lot more about Summer of Code, so hopefully we can answer their questions and get some more students excited and ready to apply. So let's just start things off. How about you guys give a little bit of a background? Chris, I heard there's sort of a funny story about how Summer of Code started, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny to me, right?
Okay. Well,
so
I'm
what
sure
had happened?
Everyone else will find it funny, too.
So when we first launched code.google.com, in the dusty annals of history in 2004, 2005, we had a couple of things on there. We had what was the very beginning of our developer relations efforts as a company, and we also had our open source information for our products and the rest. So it's sort of a compliance legal thing that we do. And so the way this was launched, this is a long time ago at Google, so it was launched after like one meeting, and Larry came up to me after the meeting. He's like, listen, I want you to fix something for me. I'm like, oh, sure. What do you say, oh grand queso boss? And he's like, so there are students in computer science school who over the summer aren't programming, and I think you should fix that.
Ready, go.
So go take care of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he sort of mentioned a number of money-wise that we could go with, and he said, just go do that. I'm like, okay. So I came back a couple weeks later, and I was like, well, I'm inherently lazy, so I really want my friends in open source to do this. So I called up folks like Miguel de Acaza and some other folks, and I said, hey, what if I gave you students? What would you do with them? And we sort of sketched out what the program would look like, and we came up with the Summer of Code. And that was, what, 8 years ago now, Kat?
Yeah, we're coming up on our 8th year.
Yeah, so it started off with 200, which then, when we saw the demand for it, increased to 400 students that first year. And then over time, we've grown the program. And now we hovered around 1,100, 1,200 students a year taking part. So.
Awesome. And is that how the outreach team started, or was the outreach team already doing other stuff with open source?
Well, I was sort of the outreach team.
Yeah.
I was also developer relations, and I was code.google.com, me and Greg Stein, so it was just us. And now we have, like, I don't know, hundreds of people on developer relations, and I don't run that or anything. That's all under Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was the beginning of our outreach, I guess. We had made a couple donations before then, but that was about it. So,
great.
Yeah.
And so for the students who don't know too much about the program, do you want to just give sort of a high-level overview of how the program works? And since we now know a little bit of the background.
You're closer to wheels to the ground on this thing.
Sure. Google Summer of Code, how does it work? Basically, Google chooses, open source projects apply to the program. We choose a subset of those based on a variety of criteria, the most important of which being how do they plan to interact with the students? Do they have a solid community, a respectful community? Are they doing interesting work? Do they have mentors lined up to do one-to-one mentoring for the students? Once the orgs are selected, then the students around the world have the opportunity to look at the projects and the ideas list and consider where they want to apply and what they want to work on. Then they apply, and the orgs choose the students based on the number of slots that we're able to give them. Mm-hmm. Then coding commences, and students work with their mentors all online and have a great summer and come up with great code. And
sounds awesome.
And they get paid for it too.
Oh, I was going to say there's got to be a perk to that on the student side as well as getting this experience.
Yeah, knowledge and experience. Actually, from a reference standpoint, it's pretty fantastic. I've heard from other companies saying, yeah, if we see Summer of Code on a resume and they've passed as a student, that's amazing for us. But
yeah,
no.
There's the T-shirt too.
Yeah.
The T-shirt from
Right
last year is on the wall behind me. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, I think the T-shirt sells it for most students.
And that wasn't planned. That was just hanging there. The T-shirt.
Totally
It's an
unintentional.
emergency fire T-shirt in case
Yeah,
okay.
she's trapped and needs an extra shirt. So
Students are paid. They get great experience working in open source.
Yeah.
And what are the companies getting out of this? They just get a summer intern?
Well, so they get paid if they succeed. So there are 3 payments. One is if they're accepted into the program. The second one comes midterm, and that means that their mentor thinks they're doing, they've done about half the work or whatever, or they've met the mentor's expectations up to that point. And then there's a final payment as well. So it's $500, $2,500, and $2,500. Is it? No,
Wow.
$2,250? $2,250.
$2,250,
Yeah,
$2,250.
so $500, $2,250, and $2,250. So about $5,000 total for the student. And the mentor gets a stipend. Well, the mentoring organization gets a stipend per student.
Yeah.
And that happens whether they pass or fail. We see about 15% of the students fail each year. 1.5.
Yeah, but when you do that, it's 51, so you have to...
Sorry.
Right, yeah.
So 1.5. And
15%.
I can write it down if it'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Just over 14, just below 16.
Okay, that makes it clear.
Not 40 and 60. Anyway, so
Yeah.
the point is that it's very much a merit-based program. This is not just like, hey, good, congratulations, you've been accepted, and here's your money, and walk away. So it's pretty remarkable in that way. So.
And, I mean, we choose orgs based on their ability to help students and mentors. Excuse me, the mentors. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say we try and set people up to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So while we do fail people, we also do our darndest, along with the orgs, to make sure that people have a useful, productive, fun summer learning stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for instance, if you look at one of the requirements of the program, one of the requirements is not that their code ends up in the project, because sometimes, the student code is good, but hard to integrate, maybe it's not quite right, maybe it's a plugin that doesn't go as part of the main code base. So we see about 1/3 to 40% of the code get accepted and then shipped with, say, an Apache web server, or shipped with a language. And that sort of thing. And these projects, we have all kinds of projects too. We have everything from games to systems libraries to operating systems to kernels. I mean, you name it, we've got it.
And so when you said 15% failed, what does the evaluation process look like for a student who's participating?
So so obviously there's the bar of getting in, right?
Right.
So they have to show that they can do this work to the satisfaction of a mentor, right? And usually that means they fixed a bug in a project, or they've otherwise interacted with the project in such a way that shows that they're the person to execute on the idea they're presenting as their project. And then at the midterm, basically, in software, estimating is kind of hard sometimes, but it's close enough. And remember, we're only talking about a month and some after the beginning of the project, and so the mentor knows by then if they're executing against the idea. So they can say, oh, they've done about half the project, or what I consider to be half of the work for the summer. And then if that happens, then we pay them that extra, that next hit of cash. And then again at the end we say, okay, if they've satisfied the mentor to that level, that's great. And in the event of disputes, our office, we handle that. We talk with the student, the mentors, because the reality is in a program this large, mentors, will get caught in a tsunami. They'll get caught up in some life event. We've had that happen basically. Any big disaster in the summer that you've heard of, we've had to deal with. Mm-hmm. And what's shocking to me is that we have yet to have someone basically fail because of a Katrina or a tsunami. We did give someone a couple extra weeks for getting cholera once, and
right, yeah.
but he turned it in. I'll point out.
What a success story!
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I actually want to collect these in like a document somewhere. and then when somebody complains, oh, this is too hard, I'm like, oh yeah, well, this kid did.
Okay, so maybe taking a step back to the application process, how does that work for students who are interested in getting matched up with one of these organizations?
Kat?
Basically, and I'm probably going to harp on this, the most important thing I could say to a student who wants to do this is read the instructions. We have actually written an entire manual for students.
Like a book.
A book, a whole book. I realize telling somebody to go read a book might be a little intimidating, but there are clear chapter headings. It's really easy. There's an FAQ you can start with. We have a mailing list where you can get questions answered. We have an IRC channel where people are on there 24/7. It's wacky.
Yeah, they're great.
And the book is very specific about things like how do I tell if I'm good enough, how do I pick an org, how do I write my application. In terms of how do you choose a project, people ask us that a lot. Mm-hmm. I always tell them to go back and think about what they're interested in. One thing about open source in general is you have to be a self-starter. If you're looking for a situation where people tell you exactly what to do every step of the way, this isn't going to be a good fit for you. You're going to be frustrated. The mentors are going to be frustrated. Yeah. But if you're the kind of person who's interested in things and passionate about things, then pick one of your interests and go to the website. Let's see, that would be melange-google.com.
Just type Summer of Code into Google.
Type Summer of Code into Google. Yeah. Yes, sorry.
URLs, they're so 1998, you know.
I forget about this search engine thing sometimes. Think about what you're passionate. Find an org. It's really easy to sort through the app, and by operating system, by language, by general kind of topic area, and then look at their ideas list for the kind of ideas that they'd like to see students work on. Sometimes they're very general, gee, it would be nice if. Sometimes they're very specific things that the organization wants for the project. Yeah. And pick something that interests you. Don't apply to too many different orgs. You can apply more than once, but quality is more important than quantity. Yeah. And each org usually has a list, if not a form, that the student uses to apply. So be specific and follow the instructions.
Yeah, and the FAQ on the website is a great place to start. I know it's so easy to say that. But yeah, students who read these documents, they do well. Yes. You know, because they all say, honestly, there's no real secret, you know, on how to be accepted to the Summer of Code. If you can program and you want to do it, and you read the FAQ and you read the parts of the book that apply to you, I mean, it's pretty straightforward if you can execute, you know. Yeah. So, and you'll learn a lot. You know, you'll get to work with real projects on real problems that they have, real problems that their users have, and that's almost irreplaceable experience. Because computer science school, you know, they teach you theory, they teach you programming, but they don't teach you users, you know. And so it's kind of remarkable, honestly, in the ways that open source is remarkable.
And what are the sort of background qualifications? So you said someone obviously who knows how to program. Do they need experience with open source or anything specifically?
No, I mean, being a decent programmer sure does help, though. But no, experience with another open source project isn't required. Okay. You know, what we see, like I said, the shoo-ins for these projects seem to be the people who say, oh, I really want to do the Summer of Code this year, so I'm going to go fix a bug and get used to how they code, so that they know who I am, so that when they're, oh, that's that guy, or that gal, you know, we'll accept them immediately, you know. So yeah, showing that you can do it is really how you get into the Summer of Code. Yeah,
it sounds like a lot of the students who've had success were engaging with these organizations before applications even opened.
That's right. That's right. And all that information is there, you know.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily have to be the best programmers. One example was a woman who did Summer of Code for Drupal some years ago, new to the project, not a lot of experience and background, so she designed a project that addressed a need for the Drupal community, but was at a coding level that she could get her teeth into and learn as she went. Mm-hmm. And at this point, she's not only a committer, she's like on the managing board of the project and flies around the world teaching people how to use the software. So you can start as a beginner.
And so maybe let's take a step back and think, so what's in it for Google with this program? This sounds great for the companies, great for the students. What is in it for Google?
So there's a couple things. So if you look at Google and how we create our software here, that people think of as being Google, right? There's actually a lot of open source code inside Google that we use. And so it's sort of important for us that that software continues to get developed and created and is sort of kept up to date. And one of the things that I found in my career, and it cats out to Usenix, where she worked before Google, you know, we saw a lot of the same people over and over and over again. And that was kind of disappointing because as people age out of the business, as people age out of programming, as they have kids, wives, that kind of thing, and husbands, you know, it pulls those people out of open source too. So how do we refresh open source year on year? So this is all part of the goals. There's a small recruiting component. You know, people who do the Summer of Code, I'll often see them come in as interns at Google and at other tech startups and technology companies. There's an aspect of PR. You know, we want to be very clear how we feel about open source software. We love it. We think it's really important for a free and open internet, and for that to persist, we want to help it however we can that makes sense for us and makes sense for open source. And in the end, the coin of the realm are developers and code, and the Summer of Code creates both. So we wanted to make sure that open source gets help from us, much as we've gotten help from it. You know. And it's a very popular program internally. So, you know, every once in a while we'll have somebody say, well, how do you justify this? And I just give them the list and I say, there you go. And it's you know, all the way up here at Google, people are just crazy about the program. And we have so many engineers who are both mentors and who were students before or who were admins in projects, and it's great. It's just fantastic. You know, we've been running the program for 8 years, and I've been here for about 8 years. And seeing students who were, you know, freshmen in college who ended up working here or working at, you know, other companies around here, and hearing their stories about Summer of Code, it's fantastic. You know, it's a kind of internship that's actually better than most internships in some ways, because internships are kind of marketing too, but Summer of Code, it's about coding. It's about doing this work, and it's sort of like a what's the right word? It's sort of like a boot camp sort of experience. You know, people bond over it, and they say, "Oh, you lived through that too." Yes, so did I. You know, and it's really cool. So, you know.
And speaking of interns, can students who already have internships lined up participate, or if they're maybe on a different seasonal schedule, so maybe it's winter for their summer or summer?
So we get this question a lot. And it's a good question because obviously there are some people who are in alternative school schedules or are in summer programs and that kind of thing. And what we tell people is that, okay, so in the case of internships and working for other companies while doing a Summer of Code thing, the problem is a lot of companies will have intellectual property agreements that you sign when you go in to start as an intern. So we've had people who like intern at Microsoft or whatever, and they also want to do this, and we're like, you should ask your boss. Because what happens is they think that they have rights to the work they do, but they actually don't. So that can be a problem. Also, the time commitment. You know, Summer of Code is not a joking around kind of program. It's the real deal. So we do require a lot of your time. So when people have had full-time jobs, and the way we find out about it is because they fail.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't want to tell us.
And is there a certain time commitment that the organizations are typically expecting? I mean, is this just like 40-hour work week kind of thing, or it depends on the project?
Well, it depends on the project, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every year we do have participants from the Southern Hemisphere. It's not summer for them. Mm-hmm. They are in school because they have to be in school to participate in the program. And people manage it, but they're working themselves pretty good.
Yeah. And it sounds like it goes back to doing all of your research before you sign up for something like this and knowing as much as you can about the program.
That's true. And also, statistically speaking, you know, we did a study of where people are doing computer science programs and education, even though you can do it as an architecture student, but independent of that. And what we found is that the number of people in computer science schools in the world are overwhelmingly, you know, Northern Hemisphere people. So, you know, so that's worth knowing. You know. And
what about for students who are interested and maybe don't get accepted? What's sort of just tips on getting involved with open source?
Go for it, Chris.
No, you got this one, Kat. I wish Carol was here. She's really good at this, but yeah.
One thing that the whole Summer of Code program does, it is make it very easy for people who are interested in contributing to an open source project to find a project that interests them and get an idea of the kind of work that they need. All their contact information is laid out, it's sortable. So just because you're not accepted in the program, we still really encourage you to go out and explore, find something you feel passionate about, and contribute to it. And there are other programs out there modeled on Google Summer of Code. GNOME has one specifically targeted for women. A number of other organizations, up to and including the European Space Commission, had a program they modeled on it. So if you're interested in this kind of internship in open source, get on your favorite search engine and look around. And go ahead and use the Melange tool to look at the various organizations and get an idea of what you might be interested in.
Yeah, those ideas lists are perennial. It's not like, you know, if this idea is worked on by some summer code student, it doesn't mean you can't look into it yourself. I mean, those ideas lists, they're maintained all the time by a lot of these projects as a way of welcoming in new developers, and that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Good piece
and you know, we use this word internship. I want to make sure a couple of things are clear, though. It's not like you're going to be sitting in an office, you know, with folks. You know, it's done wherever you live. So if you live in, you know, some house in the middle of New Zealand, well, that's where you'll be doing this from. You know, sometimes people will do things from the dorm. Sometimes they'll do it from whatever. You know, so, but you know, it's very rare for you to actually end up even meeting in person your mentor. Although sometimes we have these office visits where, you know, everyone in say country X, like India or something, can all come visit our office in Hyderabad or Bangalore, you know, or everybody in you know, in California will come visit us here. It's pretty great.
Yeah. And a couple of other things too. I mean,
You guys hear me?
yes.
Oh, froze on me for a second. So for you, this is university students, right? Maybe we should have started with that. It's 18 and over?
18 and over. And university students, it's post-secondary education. So we've had participants who are in junior college, in technical or specialty schools. We get a few postdocs every year. It's mostly undergrads, but it goes up and includes masters, PhDs, and postdocs. And the word student is flexible. To date, our oldest Summer of Code student was 56.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be young. You just have to be over 18. Or
and in an accredited institution. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And all of this information, as we've said before, is listed on the Summer of Code site, which hopefully plenty of students will go read up after they watch this.
Yeah, Kat and I are largely redundant. It's true.
Hey, but sometimes that's what you have to do to get across to people.
Yeah, different learning styles. Also, you don't have to be a computer science student.
Yeah.
The majority of students are in CS or IEEE, but we've had lots of linguistics students, some political science majors, performance dance majors, a fair number of musicians, architecture, art history. All different kinds of people are interested in computer science.
They're people too, it's true.
Yeah.
So pretty much as long as you're enrolled in a post-secondary
in a university, yeah.
in a university and over 18 and can kind of program, you're pretty much applicable to apply.
Yep. You got it.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. Do you guys want to just end with maybe a couple pieces of last-minute advice for students who are interested, or your last push for maybe those who are sort of on the fence for applying, or maybe aren't really sure it's for them?
Sure. The only thing I'd say is, you know, we have all kinds of projects, all kinds of languages, and some of them all kinds of levels of ability. You don't have to be some computer vision Linux kernel nerd to do the Summer of Code and be successful. So you can find your passion somewhere in the 170 projects that we've accepted this year.
Wow.
So, you know, there's plenty of folks there who are waiting and eager to work with you. So apply.
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, so I think we're just about done. Thanks again for joining us. And for those of you who are watching, this is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Google Students YouTube channel. We have a playlist already if you want to check it out. It's just at youtube.com/Google Students, and it has all of the Hangouts on there that we've done in the past, and this one will be added this week. So yeah, thanks again, Chris and Kat, and we look forward to seeing a surge of applications for Summer of Code.
Thanks.
Great. You have until Friday.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yes, applications are due Friday. That's probably important to include.
Or the next year.
Or the next year, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
One last thing. We also have if you're younger than 18, we have a program called Google Code-In for folks who are 13 to 17, Kat?
Right.
So, and that's held over the winter break. So we can ruin your holidays as well as we ruin your summer. No. We can enhance your
You're really selling it here.
No, I mean, programmers know that we have a calling, and its calling can often be more important than Christmas. So there you go.
Great. Okay, well, now they have a wealth full of information that they
That's
can
right.
keep back and go research.
Okay.
Great.
All right, thanks again, guys.
See you.